Actually, the issue of air quality is one that provokes a lot of reactions and is very close to the heart of people, at least those who live in Delhi, who have to suffer through this every winter. So, there is a lot of ground to cover. And, it's unfortunate that we are late, but we're very grateful to all our panelists for staying with us. And now they're going to share with us the newer technologies that are there. It's good that the technology is there, but also that we have to adopt it and adopt it on scale so that we see solutions quick and the solutions are sustainable. Now, the COVID pandemic has brought in several disruptions in our lives, with our healthcare systems being overstretched, understrained, and most of us being forced to either work out of home or do online classes. But there were some unintended benefits which everyone world over have enjoyed because of the lockdown that came after the pandemic. We were finally able to breathe clean air and enjoy clear blue sky. Come winter, and the smog is back. Has all the good been undone? Can we mobilize behavioral change to keep up with the unexpected positive benefits of the earlier lockdown? What green energy choices can we opt for in terms of infrastructure, energy efficiency, transportation, or otherwise? There is one thing that COVID has taught us, and that is that our lives and our world is precious. And when we return to normal, our living has to be sustainable and our carbon footprint has to reduce. So, what are the latest environment technology options that can help solve some of the biggest environmental concerns that we face today? Will green or clean technology help us conserve, monitor, or reduce the negative impact of our modern way of living and optimize the consumption of resources? This session will offer a sneak peek into the new age renewable energy and energy efficient solutions, modern smart IT and AI enabled environment technology, smart automobile fuel solutions, and alternatives, direct air capture, DAC monitoring of greenhouse gases and air purification technology, and other innovative ideas to fight the pollution battle. Now, please welcome our esteemed panelists who've been very patient and are now joining us in this session. Please put your hands together and welcome Mrs. Suyash Gupta, Director General and Founder, Trustee, IAC, and Managing Director, CleanFUEL India Autogas. Please also welcome Dr. K. Annapurna, Head of Department, Division of Microbiology, ICAR-Indian Agricultural Research Institute. We also have with us Mr. Vatsal Maheshwari, Managing Director, Yellow Energy, and Mr. N.S. Gaurav, National Sales Head of Honeywell. A warm welcome to all the panelists for joining us today. Right, now we've spent a lot of time talking about air pollution, and I'm sure all of you have some great ideas on how technology can help change our today and make way, lay the foundation for a better future. So I'm going to start by going to each one of you, and I would request you to please tell us what your great idea is. Let me start with you, Mr. Gupta. What's your great idea so that we can have cleaner air, we can reduce our carbon footprint, and we can dream for a better future?
Thank you, Anisha. And first, I think you have a beautiful background, which is so pertinent to the event. You have a green background, and thanks,
actually, Mr. Gupta, this is the view out of my window, and usually it's a bright green. For the last 10 days, I'm seeing a haze.
Oh, that's wonderful. Okay, okay. And thanks, Kamalji, for his initiative. I've always known him as a very creative person who works with a sense of purpose and huge sense of creativity, and this is a tremendous forum with the kind of speakers we've seen through the day. Kamalji, I think an event of this magnitude and of this will go a long way. Anisha, I'll keep my comments very short in the interest of time, and I am going to not dwell into any specific technology, but talk about generally the direction which, as a country, we have chosen. Not today, but in the past several decades, wherein there is an old saying: "A bird in hand is better than two in the bush." But we fail to acknowledge this. We come up with some beautiful technologies which are aspirational, which are prospective, which are futuristic, which have all the good adjectives behind them, and they sound so great on paper that when this happens, this will happen. When this happens, this will happen. But there are technologies and which, and of course lifestyle changes which were discussed earlier today. So my contention and my view would be, let's focus on low hanging fruits. Let's of course, there is nothing wrong in having great ideas and great aspirational goals to have for next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. But what if, what is the kind of damage which air quality? I was speaking at a panel last year on a global Autogas panel, and unfortunately, I would say, it started with the two examples which were both about India. The first example was that the world's top 14 cities out of
most polluted cities.
Polluted cities are Indian cities. And the second example was, look, what happened to Delhi in terms of smog pre and post COVID. So these are of, this is not the right example for Delhi to set and for our country to set. But unfortunately, as a country, we have been looking at very prospective and very futuristic technologies. So as a country, let's get together, let's see what are, let's have a step-by-step approach. What is viable in the next 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, and of course, even prospectively. But we need some relief today. We cannot have an AQI of almost 1,000. I was looking at the AQI levels today of 1,000 and hope to survive for the next 5-10 years. I've been surviving on Honeywell, air purifiers in my home, in my office. So Gaurav, good to see you here. Thanks to you, we are still surviving. So with this, I'll limit my initial comments with this. And of course, as the panel starts further discussions, I'll be glad to contribute. But one-liner is that we need to have some immediate relief, and we need to have low-hanging fruit, aspirational, prospective, futuristic technologies only, which we may never see, may not be the right way. Anisha, back to you.
All right. So Mr. Gupta is saying, grab the here and now and do something with it. It's good to dream for what the future holds, but do something with what you have now. Gaurav, I would like to come to you. Now, Honeywell does so many things. It is, at the forefront of cutting edge technology, AI, blockchain, machine learning, sensors. You're doing so much. What is it? What is your idea? Give me something to go with for the here and now that can make my life better today itself.
Yeah. So greetings to everyone. So just like Suyash Gupta ji said that yes, immediate solutions are the one which are going to work, or which we have to focus upon. Yes, there are a lot of solutions with Honeywell. We are into a lot of other businesses, but air purification, yes, it's been focus for us, at least in India, for the last 5 to 6 years. We've seen the portable purifiers. We're also doing a commercial air purification where a large scale air purification is required. Let's say a larger office, which is not, which is centrally cooled. So we do have solutions around that lines as well. So yes, we're looking at the immediate solution of the problem where without disturbing the existing systems a lot. Can we solve the problem? Can we solve the problem in the sense there's an existing building which needs better air quality inside the building, and more inside the building, because we all spend most of our times indoors, right? And probably 80% of the time is always we are either in our offices or our customers' offices or at homes, right? So we need to solve that first. The outdoor air is a larger problem to solve. Yes, it needs to be solved, but it is going to take time. It's not going to happen quickly. Indoor is something which we can solve quicker, and I believe we have certain solutions which can help you do that. Yeah.
Right, Gaurav, we have Honeywell air purifier for our car. The only saving grace is that we're not going anywhere in the car these days here at home, so we're not using it. But honestly, I have 3 air purifiers in my home, and it's not working. The air quality is still bad. They are running 24 hours, and the red light is on. For a few days, I guess we're gonna have to live with this, but we have to work now to change things. Vatsal, what's your idea? What is going to make a difference to our now and to her here and now?
Yeah, so again, when you select a purifier, size of the room, how you use it, it's very similar to normal air conditioning that you're using, right? You need to keep your windows closed, or what is the capacity of the air purifier you select. All these things become important, and there is a frequent filter change that needs to be done. All those things have to be taken care of in the right ways. Otherwise, you will not get the right set of results, right? You need to keep servicing your AC, right? Otherwise it will not give you the cooling effect as it is meant to do. Similarly, the air purifier also will only give the best of results when you are maintaining it right,
Right,
when you're
that's
using
true.
it
So
right.
I've got the new filters, and I know the rooms are large and the doors are open, and every time I close the door, somebody's opening the door. So yes, you have to have a behavioral change as well. For technology to work, you got to work with it, right? You yourself have to work with it. So now let me go to Vatsal and ask him, what is it, your technology idea that can work now, so that we can perhaps try to reduce our carbon footprint and improve our today.
Right. Thank you so much, Anisha. First of all, thank you so much for having me over here, and good afternoon to all of you. So, as we all see, that pollution is one of the major talked problems in today's world, because as we all know that almost 7 million people have the premature deaths because of pollution. And talking about India, it is the second most polluted country in the world after Bangladesh, which is shaving off almost 5.2 years from the life expectancy from the average Indian. So yes, we have to go around and make sure that we do a bit, whether we are doing we are taking small steps or whether we are taking bigger steps. So when I started doing like when I started my business, when I got into solar, the whole and sole idea was to reduce the carbon footprints. So solar, as a whole, the government had targeted 100 gigawatt of solar plant span in for the country in the for the year 2020, and as on date, we have completed around 35.7 as of August 2020. So I think the solar is one of the direct ways to reduce the carbon footprints. Earlier, I understand that it was very expensive and it was out of the reach of the common man. But now, since past 10 years, the prices have been reduced to almost 80%. So I believe that all the residential projects, all the commercial industries, the government has been really promoting to go solar and making sure that this is one of the direct ways to get the best of your investment, and at the same point you can get the best of carbon footprints. So yes, the technology is advancing, and I wish that everyone, very soon we'll all go on the renewable energy very soon, as we have seen that Germany and countries like New Zealand, they've already gone up till 90% of their power capacity has been taken care by the renewable, and India is still far behind of it. So let's hope on the global level that we are able to achieve these targets. So, thank you.
I feel pretty confident, Vatsal, because in a sunny country like India, why would you not have solar energy? If you have the technology now to store the energy, the cost is coming down. I'm very hopeful that this is going to be the way forward. Dr. Annapurna, thank you so much for being with us.
Let's hope.
This year, I believed, after seeing blue skies in Delhi after so many years, I was like, this winter is going to be better, but it's not. We still have the smog. I don't know if people are traveling more, if vehicular pollution is as high as it was last year, but there is no stopping the smog that is coming from outside Delhi, the stubble burning. What solutions do we have now that can work? And, why aren't the strategies that we've adopted so far to figure this out working for the last, couple of years? It's become really bad. And Dr. Annapurna, I'll request you to unmute yourself so that we can hear you.
Yeah. Am I audible now?
Yes, ma'am. We can hear you.
I'll just say thanks to you for having me here, and also good afternoon to all of you. I guess when we are talking about the pollution, in fact, everyone is looking towards agriculture to be the culprit, which I believe is not the case. I'm sure there are other sources of pollution which are really playing havoc rather than agriculture. But yes, agriculture is also probably adding to the havoc, for the simple reason that you are all aware that in Punjab, Haryana and Uttar Pradesh, during the Kharif season, paddy is grown. In fact, about 43 million hectares of paddy is grown in the country, and we have quite a large area of about 12 million hectares in Punjab, Haryana, and UP together, which is a very, very large amount. And the simple necessity of the farmer to make his field free from paddy and for sowing of wheat, that window is very, very short. In certain villages, in certain areas, it's just about 10 days or 20 days max. Now, in that 20 days, all the field operation has to be carried out by the farmer, which means he has to harvest the paddy, he has to separate the grain from the straw, and whatever straw is coming out of that, that has to be disposed of. And by the time the wheat season comes in, and he has to sow. So the easiest mechanism what the farmer does is to just burn the straw. Now that, of course, adds to the smog of Delhi. I don't say that it is the only creator of pollution, but it does add to the smog of Delhi, because the northeasterly winds which pass during the winter season, especially during the Diwali time, you have all that coming towards Delhi and the NCR region. This is one reason why everybody is now blaming the farmer, the poor farmer, I would say, because his contribution is really little as compared to the rest of, whether it is construction, whether it is vehicular traffic, or all those things which are contributing to the air pollution. So our institute over the past 5 years has been working on this aspect also, basically to find out how can we manage the agri-residue. It wasn't with the intention that we'll actually give a solution to the farmers from burning, but of course in the side, this thing, it does came as a solution for burning. So we have developed this Pusa decomposer microbial consortium, which can easily degrade the straw and under in situ conditions. That is the best part of it. So within 20 days, max of 20 days, the farmer can actually, even if the straw is left in the field, using the Pusa decomposer capsule, the straw can be completely degraded. Now it has two benefits. One, that it does not allow, or it gives an alternative to the farmer from burning. Two, it improves the soil nutrient status for the simple reason that whatever nutrients are logged in the paddy straw, that is all released with the enzymatic action of the microbe, and that goes into the soil. So the next crop, which usually is wheat in this Indo-Gangetic belt, is benefited by the higher availability of the nutrients in the soil. And we presume that over a period of time, when this practice is adopted by the farmers, even now, many farmers in Punjab do not adopt this technology as such, despite the fact that Punjab government has come out with a ban on the burning.
Double burning.
Yeah. But even then, farmers just go ahead and do it, and they say, okay, मुझको जेल में डाल दो, लेकिन मैं तो अपना जलाऊंगा. So we are trying to tell them, जलाओ मत, इसको सड़ा लो और उसको सड़ाओ, गलाओ, and then you make it a good nutrient manure so that the next crop will be benefiting. And we hope that if this practice is continued by the farmer over a period of time, his input cost for wheat cultivation would definitely be reduced. Yeah.
And ma'am,
that's what here and now our technology is going to be.
Ma'am, can yield also rise because
Yes, our own experimental farms, we have seen that the wheat yield has increased to almost 15%. And last year, with all the farmers that we have actually gone to their fields and did the demonstration, all those farmers have come out with the feedback that their yield has improved. The tillering capacity of the wheat has improved, the overall yield has improved, the vegetative growth has improved. So I believe that if this practice is continued for a period of time, overall it will be not only improving the yield of the next succeeding crop, whether it is wheat or chickpea. In certain areas in Rajasthan and all, in Rabi season, in winter season, chickpea is grown. So either chickpea or mustard or wheat, whichever is the Rabi crop which the farmer takes after paddy, that would be improved. And also, most importantly, I would say that the practice of burning will come to a standstill. I think that is very, very important.
Right. I mean, some countries, stubble burning is banned. In most advanced countries, you cannot clear your fields like this. It is banned. is banned in some states like Punjab as well, and yet it happens, unabated. Now, what I would like to understand is, ma'am, that you said our sympathies should be with the farmer. I don't know, the opinion is split there, because it's important that they put food on our plate, but you can't choke us doing the same thing, saying that I don't have the means. The means are there, you have to make an effort. I can also say I'll just burn my trash. Why should I take the effort? It's easier. We can all take the easier way out, but somebody has to make an effort. We all have to make an effort. And many a times people look at the government for signaling, for them to understand, okay, this is the way we're going forward and this is what is supported by a government. Now, Mr. Gupta, I want to come to you. Clean fuels, the government is committed to it. The government is set for clean transportation fuel. We are looking at electric vehicles. Now, some people have said, what's the point of having electric vehicles if you're going to use electricity which is made by burning coal? Our power plants emit so many fumes. We're amongst the biggest greenhouse gas makers in the world. So at one point, we're increasing renewables. At the other side, we are incentivizing private players to get into coal. So many conflicting signals. I mean, and why aren't we seizing our here and now? You're saying, like gas, we have CNG stations in Delhi. And I remember as a cub reporter, about 20 years ago, the Sheila Dikshit government came and said, scrap all blue lines, no red line will run, we will only have CNG. There was panic on the roads. College students not able to go to school, go to college because the buses weren't running. Office goers just standing because there were no buses. Yes, there were hard times, but the entire fleet turned to CNG. And yet we're living in a gas chamber. Sometimes the effort you make is not paying off because you have an entire public transport as CNG, and then the government, successive government at the center, the Manmohan Singh government, kept on subsidizing diesel to such an extent that you started driving your diesel cars happily everywhere. The messaging has to be uniform. The idea has to be uniform. We have to go in one direction. Do we have a clear direction for clean transport fuel? Mr. Gupta, I request you to unmute yourself.
My apologies, yes. As a policy maker, and we work very closely with policymakers, for them, a key issue is also, energy. Where do they get energy and energy security? So yes, of course, Indian coal is one of the dirtiest coals in the world, and almost 65 to 68% of our electricity is still sourced from
coal-fired plants.
Coal and fossil-based plants includes gas. And the kind of progress we've made on solar has been tremendous. So I would say, yes, the aspirational goals are there. And as you mentioned, but the issue is one size does not fit all. The requirements for a city like Delhi, I'm a Delhi native, are different. And requirements for a city based in South could be different. A city based in closer to a port would be different. So it's all extremely contextual to the city which we are talking about. So one size will never fit all. And I am certainly in complete disagreement with the way electric vehicles are being promoted. At one point, we are giving 8,000 crores of subsidies on electric vehicles, on the FAME 1, FAME 2. But the other factors which come into play are energy security. I was speaking at the ISW event last year, and there was a representative from Hero Group, and who mentioned that almost 80% of components for an electric two-wheeler still come from China. So we've got to be pragmatic. We cannot just have a singular focus कि जो भी होगा देखा जाएगा हमें इसी direction में जाना. It doesn't work out that way. We've got to have city specific approaches. We need to have, okay, if natural gas is viable for Gujarat because the pipelines are closer to that, let's go for natural gas there. Okay, if a city has a very well entrenched setup for electricity, and let's focus on 10 cities in a state, let's go for electric there. If a city is mapped wonderfully well with the LPG pipelines, let's go for Autogas LPG there. If it's closer to Nagpur or areas wherein we have good supplies of biofuels, which will make it viable, let's go for it there. But to say, okay, whether it's a town which is in rural Bihar, or whether it's in civil lines in New Delhi, electric is the solution, that doesn't work. So that's my contention, that we need to have tailor-made and customized solutions if we are willing to make a difference in air quality almost immediately. One size will never fit all.
Okay, one size doesn't fit all. Vatsal, can you talk to us about the solar solutions? Like, on an industrial basis, we already have our target set, right? The Indian government has already set a target. I think it's 450 gigawatts of renewable energy.
It's 100 gigawatt till 2022. Yeah.
Yeah, but in 2030, I think we have our target to be around closer to 450
we have
gigawatts.
increased.
Yeah, but we're getting on course to do that. Now, there's one thing that we have solar farms, we have on industrial level, good adoption of solar energy. And for a sunny country like ours, why not? How can we bring it down to normal people? Can normal people like us who live in cities benefit out of this? Because, I went for a holiday to Mauritius and I saw so many solar geysers. Nearly every house had a solar geyser. I have not seen a solar geyser in Delhi. So, I mean, to the common man, how does this percolate down?
Anisha, could you please repeat the last line, because there was some technical glitch? Yeah. I couldn't understand it.
My question is, how does the power of solar energy trickle down to the common man? I know on an industrial level, solar parks, etc., will contribute to the grid, but can I benefit out of it? Can I save my energy costs? Can I reduce my own carbon footprint?
Okay, so I'll explain it something to you. So there are three types of solar we are working in the industry right now. One is the on-grid solar systems, one is the off-grid solar system, and the third is hybrid. Earlier, as I've already mentioned earlier, that the systems were very, very expensive, and now they have come down to almost 80%. The common man can definitely go and apply for the solar system and get it commissioned at his residence as well. Now, talking about the on-grid systems. On-grid systems are those where the government has given you the mechanism where you can, export the extra produced electricity to the government and take it back. Earlier, it was only limited to the commercial projects, and now it is limited to everybody. Like wherever, if I have a residential project, whether if I have any NGO working, if I have any office, if I have any industry, it is practically viable for everyone. If I wish to install a 1 kilowatt system at my farmhouse, it will still be viable if I install a 1000 kilowatt project for my factory. So the prices, when we talk about the investment levels, yes, well, the more the capacity, the more the pricing we're gonna liquidate, obviously. So if you have a smaller capacity and if your requirement as well is the small, so you need to invest a very small amount, which will be returned, which will be recovered in say 2 to 3 years. And I think that's a very fair enough investment if you ask me, because getting an IRR internal rate of return of say 17% or 18% is a phenomenal return, because the solar works for minimum 25 years. And we need to understand that whatever the investments you're doing currently, it will take 2 to 3 years. I'm sorry?
Yeah, but Vatsal, is there awareness about this? Like how do you go ahead? I may want to get my solar system, maybe if nothing else, a solar geyser only. And I understand the government is now incentivizing by giving subsidies as well. Who do I contact? Should I go to my RW? Because most of the time the RWs don't know. They're not mobilizing people to do this. Who should I approach? I mean, I can't go to the government. I mean, there's so much. I mean, it's amazing.
Anisha, I think the best way is to Google, like, which are the EPC companies around you, and they will surely help you out. Google has helped you out in many ways. So there are hundreds of companies in every city. You take the name and there will be a solar company for sure working in that area. So yes, the subsidy has definitely helped out putting down the prices. Like, so I'm from Jaipur, and we have been into this industry since 5 years, and we have actually seen the changing trends in the mindsets of the people. Earlier, the solar was expensive. We don't wish to put it up. Hamara kya hoga? We don't know. Kya hum log ne jo investment kiya hai, wo वापस हमें मिलेगा नहीं मिलेगा? So these sort of problems were always there. But once the industry, once the people started investing into solar and they saw the direct benefit from the very first month, so the awareness automatically spread it. So I think that helped out the whole industry, and obviously we can see that change happening. If you talk about Rajasthan, Gujarat, Chennai, Karnataka, Maharashtra, Haryana, all these states have been promoting solar a lot, and yes, there is a lot of awareness if you ask me.
All right. So that's really heartening. Gaurav, for you, for Honeywell, how do you view the air purification market? Do you see this one is still growing, or do you think that all these solutions, the new age technologies that are coming up with a lower carbon footprint would perhaps, see that going ahead, we'll have cleaner air and perhaps not be using so many air purifiers? How do you see your market?
The market is definitely growing. I would say that's a simpler answer to it. The market is definitely growing. There's a need for air purification products, and I don't see that going down anytime soon. Although the point which I would say Vatsal touched upon, how can we make this technology affordable to more people? How can they afford it at every nook and corner of the country? And that's when the acceptability, or people, these solutions get used in volumes, right? So right now it is only affordable to, let's say, the niche segment of people. The bigger challenge for us is how can we make it more affordable to the mid-level or the next level or the larger market. So, but then having said that, I definitely feel there's a huge potential out there in terms of air purification. The market is just starting to open up. Unfortunately, the awareness around air quality or the air pollution is a 3-month affair most of the time. If you see, towards the Diwali it starts, and then I think around December or January it kind of subsides. We talk about AQI being 1,000 or AQI being over 900, but no, even an AQI of 100 is hazardous. And if you see most of the cities, the AQI is around 200 or 300 throughout the year. So the problem is there throughout the year. It's only that we raise an alarm when it is 1,000. Okay, so awareness is. But
Gaurav, isn't the air quality of most of the South Asian cities, like even a Singapore or a Hong Kong, be pretty similar, right?
Yeah, we're pretty similar. If I go to let's say the data in the northern part of the country, if we go back to that, let's say Delhi was supposed to be the most polluted city. But then after a year or two, we saw that Lucknow, Kanpur, and Agra, these places were even more polluted. What changed in those 2-3 years? Is it that something drastically different happened in these cities? No, it's only that they started monitoring the air quality only during that point in time. Yeah. So if you have, the first step is creating awareness where where people know themselves that yes, this is a problem. They acknowledge that this is a problem. They accept that there is a problem, and then then what is the solution I have, right? So the first step is a difficult one right now in India. Yeah.
So what you're saying is that the problem is around the year, and you need a solution which is also around the year. Exactly. We only raise our alarm during winter, but the problem stays around the year, and you have a ready solution for around the year. Dr. Annapurna, you've heard some of our speakers here talk about the technologies that are, that we have now. They can change the way we live, reduce our carbon footprints. Now, the whole problem about stubble burning has only started over the last 4-5 years. Honestly, my daughter is 8 now. When she was a baby, I used to take her to so many parks in the winters, Lodi Garden, Deer Park. It was bright, beautiful, clean. And my son is 4. I have never taken him to a park in the winters because it's smoggy. Something changed 5 years back. I believe the stubble was being burnt, for the longest time. Only the timing of the burning has changed. Now, I want to understand the timing has changed because the law has been brought in. Now, that's where, again, I go back to the signaling by the policymakers. Punjab farmers are using 4,000 liters of water to produce a quintal of rice. Is it worth it? If you will signal, I will give you an MSP, they will sow it. 40 years ago, our dada dadis were having bajra and jowar. Bajra and jowar today is superfood. Why? Because we are giving MSP for rice and wheat. I don't think there are many rice eaters in Punjab. It goes all over the country. When the signaling has to be better. You can produce all the solutions you have. We need signaling. How important is the government signaling for this decomposer as well?
See, the question of why the stubble burning started just about 4-5 years back is very relevant for the simple fact that it's like a vicious circle, I would say, being in the agriculture sector, because breeders will be breeding varieties which are suitable, which are high yielding, and which are suitable for some agroclimatic conditions. Like for example, in Punjab, all the varieties, especially, see, the problem of stubble burning is with the non-basmati variety, not the basmati variety. Why? Because for non-basmati variety, the
there is no MS. There is MSP only for non-basmati, right?
Yeah, it's not question of not only MS, but there is other components also. Like the machinery which is used for harvesting came into the existence. People started promoting those combined harvest and all that. Not happy seeder, but the combined harvest. Now, once you use a machine to harvest the paddy crop, there will be the machine's lower part is designed in such a way that it will leave about a foot of the stubble in the field. Whereas earlier people used to harvest just by hand harvest. Yes. So they will be cutting the stubble right almost at the knot of the, So then you don't have the stubble burning for the simple reason that any field operation the farmer can do with ease for the next crop. Now, when the stubble is standing almost a foot high, for him to carry out any field operation like running a disking or even then using a seeder for seeding the crop, that all becomes little cumbersome and problematic. That's the reason why he is now resorting to the burning. Only because in the last 4-5 years, these varieties have come, which are being harvested using the machinery, which leaves the stubble almost a foot high, has made the farmer into this kind of a situation where he has to get the field free, and for them the easiest way is to go. This is the simple this thing, not really of MSP or any other thing, but this is one biggest reason. And of course, all the other reasons like what you talked about MSP is also an additional factor. But because you are breeding, the breeders give you long duration varieties. That means, if the long duration varieties are sown, then it is eating into the time of wheat sowing. So if the paddy
all that is fine.
The wheat is
ma'am, what I'm saying is, the green revolution is about a few decades old. Before that, we were not having so much rice in Punjab, right? The green revolution saw overexploitation of the groundwater, and hence these varieties are brought in so that that would stop. You can just stop growing these kind of plants. Why are you sourcing all your rice from Punjab? Source it from somewhere else. No? Source it from West Bengal. The yield is so low there. Perhaps they'll be incentivized to improve the productivity. We have to feed a nation of 130 crores. Climate change is here and now. If we don't improve yields, we will not have food on our plate. I mean, first we have bad air, then we'll have no food. You cannot say that 4,000 liters of water for rice is fine.
Yeah.
Come on, you got to maximize every resource.
That's what
I'm saying, ma'am.
Yeah.
The government is signaling, please stop MSP or please stop procuring so much from Punjab. It's not the only state that grows rice in our country. If they find something else, perhaps they grow something else. Perhaps they won't burn the stubble. Perhaps they find solutions. It is the signaling.
That signaling is going on, but the acceptance from the farmer's side will take some time. It's not that you do it this year and they'll in a jiffy they will agree to everything, because they are getting their money worth back. So they won't leave rice cultivation unless you stop the water, because they realize water table has risen. They won't have much water. And another thing is that the water in the paddy is being cultivated that is an irrigated crop. So they're not dependent on rains or anything like that. They have irrigation channels. So they are using that for the paddy cultivation. With lot of cajoling, with lot of government pressures, people are talking to farmers and asking them to diversify their agriculture cultivation. Don't go for rice and wheat system, grow something else. So like you grow soybean, you grow something else during the kharif season and go to the wheat field. But then that acceptance will take some time for the farmers, because the farmer says मैंने अगर चावल कल्टीवेट कर लिया तो मेरा जो है पूरे साल का निकल जाएगा. वो तो उसी से चीज से बॉदर करता है. उसको ये नहीं, उसको ये पता है कि अगर सोयाबीन वो ग्रो करता है, जब तक सोयाबीन के मिलिंग सोर्सेस पास में नहीं होंगे, सोया प्रोसेसिंग यूनिट्स नहीं होंगे, तो सोयाबीन कहाँ बिकेगा मार्केट में. राइस तो धड़ाधड़ बिक जाता है.
तो मैम वही मैं कह रही हूँ, सिग्नलिंग की ही बात होगी. अगर मुझे पता है कि मेरे पास कस्टमर है तो मैं वही करूंगा ना. तो मेरा आपसे ये सवाल है मैम, माय क्वेश्चन इज the innovation that you've got, which is the Pusa decomposer. Will this also need signaling for broader acceptance? We've seen happy seeders and farmers aren't happy. There are so many solutions that are made to our circumstances, which are not being, the pickup is not great. We still see stubble being burned. So I'm just trying to understand the greater acceptance of Pusa decomposer. Is it going to come from the farmer? Is it going to come as in the carrot and stick, the stick policy from the government? Is it going to be signaling? Is it going to be incentive? How is this going to work? Since when do you have this decomposer? Why haven't we used it so far?
We have got this decomposer in the last 1 year, 1.5 years rather, where we had to validate it in the farmer's fields. And farmer will believe only if it is done in his field and he gets the good results. Otherwise, just by whatever kind of incentive you give, they are not all that ready and easy to accept any technology for that matter. So we have aggressively gone into Punjab and Haryana villages to show them in their own field that if you put this, the degradation will start. And then after the degradation, you can easily carry out your next crop preparation. And that will also help for the next crop. Only once he started seeing it and believing it, then only the farmers. Now this year, we have such a huge demand of this Pusa decomposer capsule that we honestly, we are unable to cater to all that demand. And it's not, and this burning issue, Anisha, is not just in Punjab or Haryana, though the fact remains that it is highlighted for the simple reason that Delhi is getting so much of pollution, and Delhi feels that it is the adjoining areas, adjoining farming sectors which are responsible for it. There are in certain parts where rice is grown, and there rice is grown twice in a year. There also the burning event takes place. West Bengal, burning event takes place. Orissa, burning event takes place. But it's not highlighted there at all for the simple reason that it is still in a lower this thing. Here, because
it disperses in the atmosphere.
It disperses in the atmosphere. Here, because winter sets in, everything in the air, it settles. It doesn't percolate. So that is one reason.
Right. But the thing is, ma'am, if this Pusa decomposer is adopted all over in our country, then our greenhouse emissions themselves will go down, because we will not be burning biomass. And as you know, a country that is agreed to the Paris Agreement, we have our commitments there as well. And this will definitely help. We hope that the production will increase many times. It's a fungi, and I hope we'll be able to replicate.
We have licensed this to companies. So the companies, once they start their production, I'm sure they will be able to meet the demand of the farmers also.
Great. This is definitely great news. Vatsal, for solar, there was an earlier participant in this e-conference today who raised a few doubts about how solar panels, etc., can be recycled, but it's really sustainable in the long term. Could you add your comments there?
I'm really sorry. I think there's some technical issues from my end. Again, if you can repeat it.
Yeah,
I think my network is not working properly.
Yeah, but so the question I have is, one of the speakers who joined us earlier in this session said that we must adopt solutions that are sustainable in the long term. He raised doubts about solar panels and the PV equipment to use, on how it can be degraded naturally into the earth once its utility is done. And it may be 20, 30 years from now, but is it completely sustainable?
See, I completely agree with the viewpoint because what happens is after 25 years, see, as on date, if you see the manufacturers, they are giving you the warranties of 25 to 30 years, but nobody knows what's going to happen after that. So what the current industry is working on is that how to recycle those modules back again to life and giving them a sustainable life back again, and maybe they can be sold back again into the markets. And this is one of the major issues that the industry will eventually face. I personally feel that. And I don't think so. Using solar is a lot of problem because see, yes, there has been a lot of debate on should we really go solar, should we really go to the wind, because there are a lot of problems when we are talking about the raw material being used while manufacturing the solar products, whether it is solar modules, whether it is solar inverters. I'm sure even Mr. Gaurav would agree to this because a lot of our products which are being made in China or maybe India or Germany, a lot of raw materials which we use today have some issues when we are manufacturing it. So, as far as the sustainability is concerned, I think half of your life has been given by solar. So, I think that's fair enough to justify that statement. That 25, 30 years, if a product is working for you, at least it's working well for you, but then eventually we'll try and recycle it. So, that's
Okay,
the whole idea
Gaurav,
the industry is working on right now.
Gaurav, how hopeful are you that within these next 10, 15 years, we will find a solution to, repurpose or reuse these products, which are, the solar PV cells or, what equipment that you use and the raw materials that you use for your air purifier? Will they be completely degradable? Will they be sustainable?
Yeah, if I could talk about purifiers, there are two sets of raw materials that generally get used. There are two types of purification, I would say, technologies available. One is an active and another one is a passive technology. In a passive technology, what happens is you generally use uh, uh, a cloth-based or a polyester fiber-based filter. That's what probably you're using at your home. Um, it's good. It turns out to be more economic and all those things, everything fine. But then over a period of time, end of life, what you do, you have to dispose that off. And when you dispose that, what do you do with the plastic? You either burn it or you bury it. In both cases, you're again
It's
adding
not
to
sustainable.
it's not sustainable. So the second solution, when we do an active filtration, we do have certain solutions which is not totally made up of aluminum and you know. End of life you can just recycle it. Okay, you don't have to worry about you know, burning it or burying it, which actually adds to the problem which we're going to solve, right? So that's not going to happen. So we in the active technology we do have those solutions which are more sustainable, which end of life are not going to create any carbon footprints as such. Yeah, there are both options available, but the more economic option would be going in for a normal cloth based or a polyester fiber based media filtration, which yes will be economic, but then yes, it's not sustainable. I would say it is going to add to your carbon footprints because again it's made of coal and polyester fibers ultimately.
All right, Mr. Gupta, we wanted to come to you. While you have said that EV vehicles sound very cool, Tesla makes very fancy electric cars, and everyone now aspires for the Tesla abroad, right? So it's very cool. And my husband also keeps telling me, "Your car is so old. Why don't you buy a new one?" I'm like, "No, I'll buy when a nice electric vehicle comes." सबके साथ आगे बढ़ेंगे अब आजकल की गाड़ियों को क्यों लेना तो what's your solution, what's your here and now solution? You can use LPG, you can use CNG, so why isn't it being happening at a scale in India?
I wouldn't say it's not being used. It's being used, Anisha, but the issue is too little, and too little, and I wouldn't say too late, because India is a country of 130 crore people, and as you mentioned, you need to have, and I think somebody else on the panel also mentioned about, you mentioned about why not grow paddy in West Bengal. So so my analogy relates exactly to the same thing. Delhi CNG has been partly successful, but if you look at 2.5, PM 2.5, nobody really talks about PM 2.5. The visible smog because of CNG reduced, and the diesel issues, there was a legacy of diesel issues which you also mentioned, Anisha, when you talked about the huge subsidy on diesel, and literally every other car purchase was a diesel vehicle, and you had right from Daimler-Benz to BMWs to even Maruti, all changing their product lines to primarily
Diesel.
yeah. So now all that has changed, and today the fuel quality, if you look at the BS6 fuel, whether it's uh, any vehicle, because the quality of air is directly proportional to the kind of fuel which you put in. So if we put in good fuel, and BS6 fuel is really good today. So, but we need to see, for example, for Delhi, CNG is so well entrenched. I think CNG will make a good sense in Delhi, but electric, but again, I would say, for Delhi, the issue is not just transport. The issue is, of course, the paddy issue. And I'm actually very convinced with your point which you made, that it is essential for government to really go overboard and just spend a percentage of FAME 1 and FAME 2 funding of 8,000 crores, 10,000 crores to compensate the farmers. I know it's not easy, because farmers.
But we already have a clean energy cess, and we already paying out of our nose for coal. You have a clean energy cess, right? I'm saying, how can I'll compensate by this, I compensate by this. यहाँ से लेकर वहाँ से लेकर यहाँ. I mean, ऐसे कैसे चल सकता है?
But in a country like India,
एक vision though. I mean, what I'm saying is we need a vision. Now, I may be too lazy to buy a new car. I'm waiting for the electric car. I'm waiting for the infrastructure. Maybe it's easier for me to just convert my car into an LPG or a CNG, right? But if it would make sense for me, I'd do it. If the government says, do this, I'll make it worth your while, I'll do it. It's part of the signaling, right? So where is the signaling?
Absolutely. I think you make a very good point. The key point is for the government to get the messaging right. They shouldn't say, okay, the EV is the way to go, that CNG is the way to go. They need to have a fair market, open market, that we will support all clean alternate fuels. We will support auto LPG. We will support CNG. I'll give you a small statistic. Electric vehicles today, it's heavily subsidized. But you know what? The CNG conversion kit and the LPG conversion kit is taxed at 28%. The fuel itself, LPG, is taxed at 18% under GST. So it's like penalizing people to use cleaner fuels like CNG and LPG, which is an incorrect messaging which government has pushed. So
why is that happening? Why is the government saying that e-vehicles is our future?
There are several reasons, and and we're trying to talk to the government. And because the messaging, it also, what happens with the OEMs, when you go to Maruti, they want to launch OEM LPG vehicles. They want to launch, Hyundai wants to launch vehicles, but they share with us the concerns which they have, that if government is hell-bent on only introducing electric vehicles, and they're going to have a regulatory environment which will not support CNG or LPG, then the messaging is extremely wrong. Because today, if Maruti launches LPG variant, a WagonR, and promotes it proactively with the kind of fuel savings we have on petrol, we have a 50% fuel savings. All of us will absolutely.
These fuel savings are just cost, or are these emission savings? What savings are these?
Fuel savings, the cost savings.
Cost
Emissions,
savings.
of course, every gaseous fuel will be very clean, because gaseous fuels will never have any PM. So you will never see any smog issue which you see in there. Any smog issue will be non-existent. I'll give you a very interesting statistics. LPG is the world's third most used automotive fuel after petrol and diesel. South Korea does 4 million tons a year. Turkey does almost 3.5-4 million tons a year. And I can name so many other countries. And you know what? India is at 19th position, I think, today. And the kind of volumes we are doing is 0.4 million tons. We're doing 10% of the volumes which South Korea does. And South Korea is
Suyash, is this because we don't produce our own gas? We are generally dependent on imports for gas. Is this one of the reasons? Because honestly, we also are dependent on imports of petrol and diesel. For that, the government doesn't have any, signaling problem. Please come and invest in our strategic petroleum reserves. When we want to have clean transport, I'm not understanding the signaling at all. Please invest in petroleum reserves, but we want EVs in the future. What are we going to do with the petrol then?
Anisha, India consumes about 24 million tons of LPG. And you're partly right. We had legacy issues, which I'll just share. Out of 24 million tons of total LPG consumption, which about 22 million tons or more is domestic sector. And out of the total 24 million tons, we produce almost 50% and we import the balance 50%. However, the legacy issue was India when we used to talk to policymakers 10 years earlier, the issue was India mein domestic consumption ke liye to LPG hai nahi, and you're asking us to promote it for auto LPG. But what had happened after 2014, when Mr. Modi introduced Ujjwala scheme, it immediately jumped. Today, 98% of Indian population has access to
LPG gas cylinders.
LPG gas because of Ujjwala. But what happened because of that? Huge import terminals were created. And parallelly, US shale gas started production in 2014. So the prices of LPG have fallen from $1,200 a ton to almost $300 to $400. So the narrative has changed completely, Anisha. So you're absolutely right that legacy issues were there, and that was the reason why LPG did not pick up as much, because it was not as cost competitive. But now energy security is so tremendous in LPG. We have supplies coming in from US. US is a very key partner for India for import of LPG. And you have LPG.
And it's still important, Suyash. You have a COVID, you have your supply lines hit, and then where's the gas? Again, you get into that conundrum because it is not produced locally. It is still imported.
No fuel is imported. And if Korea doesn't produce as much LPG, Japan doesn't produce as much LPG. So this is an intermingled world, where we supply products, we have to import products. Poland and so many countries in Europe, they're all LPG countries, and they're very clean, but they do not produce LPG. So the narrative of India, it's about whom we are sourcing from. Are we okay? Okay, for example, the electric narrative, Anisha, which you mentioned, all the mines, and Honorable Minister for Road Transport is on record saying this in Lok Sabha, I think Rajya Sabha, that China has already purchased most of the resources available globally for lithium, for almost
the rare earths,
and almost all the global mines. So the risk for India to go completely electric is much more, because we are banking hugely on China, and China control resources. But if we go,
which is not really good.
Oh, absolutely. So
we don't know how much we can rely on that.
Again on this, and let's see, what happens. But energy security.
So Suyash, how do we then get more people to switch to LNG? I was reading a report which said that if you have a motorcycle and you get the LPG conversion kit, it's a cost of 5,000 to 6,000 rupees. But you make up that cost in no time because the fuel price is so much lower. How to get more people to take it up if there is no signaling, if there is no big plan? For me, in my little micro world, how do I make it more popular?
Absolutely. We, in our representations to the ministries, one of the first wish list items is not any specific demand, but to just ask them that please talk about autogas. It's such a great fuel, but if you do not talk about autogas, if you just talk about electric, you talk about ethanol, you talk about biodiesel, you talk about A, B, C, D, E, and you do not talk about auto LPG, the narrative changes, because the messaging which a customer gets is completely different. That okay, but government is talking about electric, and I will go the electric way because वो future है. वो future आएगा कि नहीं आएगा, कि 20 साल बाद आएगा, 30 साल बाद आएगा, कि हम लोग तब तक दिल्ली की एयर क्वालिटी में रह पाएंगे कि नहीं रह पाएंगे, उसको देखने के लिए nobody talks about that.
So we need a here and now solution. Dr. Annapurna, for the PUSA decomposer, you said that you've already licensed it to two companies. How hopeful are you about its uptake in the coming year? Say not the wheat season, but the next paddy one. To what extent do you see the adoption? Is it cost competitive for the farmers? Do you think the farmers will give it a go on their own without a carrot and stick policy? Dr. Annapurna, I'll request you to please unmute yourself.
Sorry. I'm very hopeful that the farmers will take it up positively, because this season, with the help of the Delhi government, IRA has taken it to a large number of farmers with in the Delhi surrounding areas, and the results are proving good. So I'm sure the farmers of other states, especially Punjab and Haryana, will take it up. So if that is the case, then it will be taken up by the farmers. You'll have to excuse me. My director is calling. I'll get back to you.
Sure.
Yeah.
We'll come back to you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Gaurav, you said that the pollution problem is actually year-round, and we're only talking about it in the winters. Are people in other cities like Chennai or Mumbai that don't really see a lot of pollution problem buying air purifiers if it is a year-round problem and they see it as a problem?
Yeah, I would say this. It is the same throughout the country. Of course, the Chennai, cities like Chennai or Mumbai are lesser polluted compared to Delhi, but it's not that they're not polluted. If you look at the standards, if you look at the AQI levels, even in Mumbai, it's pretty bad. Okay, throughout the year, there are certain areas in Mumbai also where the AQI levels are really bad. But again, it boils down to awareness. Do they know how bad it is for them? How do we create awareness? That's been the biggest challenge for me and the company as well, which we're trying to address, where we create awareness amongst people. It's like, okay, for instance, in Delhi, I remember talking to a set of people, and they were like, Gaurav, you were talking about good indoor air quality. You'll put some solutions. You'll solve my problem at home or at my office. But I have to go out, right? I anyways go out and breathe, dirty air.
Why should I breathe clean air at home?
Yeah, isn't it that I'm already immune to breathing dirty air? Nothing's going to happen to me. These kind of things come up, right? So I use a very, very crude analogy there. I just tell them, imagine you smoke a pack of cigarettes daily. What would happen to you? Instead of smoking a pack of cigarettes, you bring it down to one cigarette a day. It's only going to help you, right? So yeah, the awareness is still a big problem. And yeah, we talk about stubble burning, we talk about clean fuel, but yes, another aspect of it is a lot of infrastructure coming up, right? What has happened over the last
construction,
a lot of construction, last 10 years or so. You see a lot of construction.
And that will go on, Gaurav, given the state of where our economy is and the way it's growing. You can't stop construction. It's going to happen, right?
Yeah, it will happen.
There was once a pulmonologist who told me that all day you may inflict your lungs with the harshest air, but come home and breathe clean air. It helps your lungs to, recuperate from what the onslaught they have suffered all day. So this is what I want to understand. Is there an awareness about this? Are people willing to do this, not just in Delhi, but elsewhere in our country?
I would say very few people are aware and are willing to take steps towards towards this. Some of them who are aware, like you said, like Suyash said, you're already using a purifier at home. He's using a purifier at home and probably his office as well. So people who are aware and have used certain solutions to tackle this problem know about the difference when the solution was not there and when now you're using the solution. You will definitely feel a difference when you wake up in the morning. Once you have an air purifier, you'll definitely feel a difference when you didn't have it earlier, right? But again, it's only a few people. I would say a very, very minuscule percentage of people who are aware or who are deciding to take action on this, but not a lot of them. Not a lot of them. Probably under 10% is what I would say.
All right. I'm going to start taking a few closing comments. Vatsal, I want to start with you. Now, for the solar solutions that exist, your company does provide them. Who is going to remain your focus going ahead? Are you going to focus on the large commercial, industrial solutions, or do you think the retail solutions will be important at all? why I'm asking is, does it make sense for me to go in for, calculate the ROI, when I'll break even, when I'll do the savings on a retail basis, or should I just hope and pray that, it'll all go on the grid, and when it all goes on the grid, the cost will come down, makes life easier for everyone without me having to make the effort. What are you focusing on? The industrial large-scale solutions or the retail small-scale solutions?
So Anisha, as far as the business is concerned, obviously everyone would want to go into the volumes, and I would obviously would want to go for the industrial cap. But talking about the being a responsible businessman as well at the same time, there is no harm going on for the smaller projects as well. So smaller, if I'm talking about the residential projects, which are 5 kilowatt, 10 kilowatt, any capacity of the solar plant will give you this almost the same amount of return on investment, and it will save the carbon footprints, the amount of capacity that you're installing at your rooftop or whether it's on the ground mounted. So I would definitely request everyone to go solar, or maybe you install a wind plant, maybe a solar, go for bio, anything which can save the environment. It will surely give you a return on investment and on your future as well. So that's the whole and sole target that we are targeting anyone and everyone. Whosoever is using electricity should go on the renewable one rather than going for the conventional one.
All right. Dr. Annapurna, I'm taking some closing comments, and you were talking about, how you're looking at the upkeep of the PUSA decomposer. Ma'am, in your closing comments, what would you like to say? Do you think that the stubble burning menace, not just in the states close to Delhi, but elsewhere in the country, will also see a decline, and which will be at scale quickly?
Yeah, I definitely feel that there will be a decline in that. But then for that, both the policymakers have to take a tough stand, and also the farmers have to be convinced that they have an alternative to burning. So with these two approaches, I'm sure stubble burning will see the number going down. And of course, the capsules or whatever technology like PUSA decomposer that we have produced, that should be available at the time when the farmer needs. So many a time the farmer has this grouse that they don't get the material when it is required by them. Like they don't get the seed in time, they don't get the fertilizer in time. So similarly, if they don't get PUSA decomposer in time, then it's not their fault. They'll say, okay, हमें मिला नहीं इसलिए हमने burn कर दिया. So
ma'am,
onus lies on us.
On us, I mean, who can the farmer take into confidence here? So he must be going to X person or Y person when he has to buy seeds, when he has to buy fertilizers. Will these X and Y people be the ones who will then promote the decomposer? Who is he going to trust?
See, if the policy comes that along with the seed, like they are giving the fertilizers, if the PUSA decomposer sachet is also given to them, I think that also will make it very easy for the farmer to take it up. Otherwise, aggressive promotion from the government sector should also come into play. Then only the farmers will be reached, because however much we try as an institute, we really can't reach the nick and corner of the country. That's one thing that we have realized in the last 1.5 years. We try so much to go to the farmers' field, but then we can't be there everywhere. So I guess there has to be an intervention by the government, and also by the extension workers, specifically the KVKs, where they can promote this technology or any technology which is useful for the farmers, and of course for the PUSA decomposer.
All right. Suyash, in your closing comments, what would you like to say for cleaner fuels? What should be India's way forward?
First, before my closing comments, so Vatsal, I'm using 10 kilowatt solar power, and I'm very happy. I'm not paying any electricity bill, literally. So, and
I think Anisha, you have the answer. I think Mr. Suyash has already given you the answer.
Mr. Suyash, are you using it for your factory? Are you using it for your home?
I'm using it for my home. I have a 10 kilowatt connection at my home, and extremely recommended. Every household must have a solar connection at home. It saves you money. It's of course, and we become, we contribute to the nation, not in terms of bad air quality, but in terms of making the air cleaner. So coming back to your question, Anisha, with my closing comments, yes, India, the intent is clear. The intent is good. And there is absolutely no question on the intent of this government, but there is no one size fit all solution available for country. B, we need to look at customized solutions for each and every region in the country. West will have different solutions, East will have different solutions. It depends on the local GDP as to what is an affordable solution for which part. But it is essential for us to have a fuel policy, not just from automotive angle, but generally in terms of what can be made available today in terms of immediately helping us to lower the AQI levels from 1,000 to at least a 3-digit number, but less than 100 number, a two-digit number. And that should be our focus with those would be my my closing comments, that let's have low-hanging fruits first with an eye on all the bigger issues like energy security, because in case we do not have fuel, we do not have life is going to be very different, because the renewables are certainly still they are less than 25% of the overall share of the country. So over to you, Anisha.
So we need a backup plan B as well. Right. Gaurav, in your closing comments, what would you like to say?
Yeah, I would like to say that we have already started creating awareness amongst all of us, and we need to continue doing this, not just for the 3 months, but probably throughout the year. Including the government, we also need to play our part, right? To create awareness amongst our peers, amongst our customers, amongst people whom we know, right? So that's one part of it. But then from company side, or from our end as a company, as Honeywell, we should look at making these air purification solutions more and more affordable and more sustainable. Is what we need to focus on. And the moment it becomes more affordable and more sustainable, I think that there's going to be a more acceptance, and a lot of people are going to use it throughout the country. Although if the problem is sorted out externally, nothing like it. So then we don't have to be there in this business, right? Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. I would like to thank all the participants for sparing the time to come here and give us all hope that all of us can make a difference. We can make our own efforts, and the work is underway to improve our environment, to clean the air we are breathing, to ensure that we reduce our own carbon footprints. Mr. Suyash, Gupta, Dr. Annapurna, Vatsal, Maheshwari, and as Gaurav, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing with us how technology and innovative solutions are coming forward to give a solution to all those who are looking for clean air, who are looking to make their lives sustainable in the years ahead. Thank you so much.